Austin, and to your point on rentals, Robert, Austin's become the most affordable rental city in the country. That's hard to believe.
You got to realize they built 25,000 apartments.
Welcome to Silverman Realty's Property Desk Podcast, Episode 7, where we talk all things residential real estate in Texas. Today is November 25th, 2025, and I'm Phil Silverman, owner of the company and your host, and I'm joined by my co-host today, Robert Vernon, who is a real estate...
Hello.
Hey, Robert. Real estate agent with Silverman Realty. Robert, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Very good. We're going to jump right into it today with an Austin update, just because the sky is falling in Austin. And after we do,
Boy, is it.
we seem to always be talking about Austin, but
We do.
after we're done just telling people how bad things are in Austin for sales and rentals, we'll get into some questions about real estate, property management, and then just sales, leasing, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and talk about Austin. Yeah. The median home price in Austin plummeted 8.2% from last year. That's a big number. So to put that in perspective, if you bought $1 million house in Austin, yeah, your house is worth about $80,000 less.
I bet you're feeling real great right now if you're an Austin buyer the past few years.
Not good. Compared to what happened kind of nationally, the median price went up to 4.8%. Most of those increases, Robert, interestingly, were in the Rust Belt. Okay, cities like Cincinnati. I don't know why that is, but they've got some good things going on up there. But
I would say Cincinnati, Charlotte, there's some areas that are where Texas was about 7-8 years ago. So you're seeing a little bit more run up in those areas.
yeah, but the country as a whole is doing okay when you look at the national numbers. Sun Belt, Texas, not so much. Austin suffered the worst price decline in the country. And then here's a good indication: mortgage originations dropped by 41%. So mind-blowing numbers. If you go back to the peak of COVID, when all of this was going crazy and everybody was moving to Austin, you had 36,000 originations in the third quarter of 2020. Compared to this past third quarter in 2025, only 7,600.
The originations are really just down in Austin. It's a really terrible market right now. They've been hit with a lot of macroeconomic headwinds too at the same time, when the housing market has gone really stagnant in the, like you said, in the South Sun Belt area. It's rough on Austin.
Yeah.
We're seeing some major inventory increases on the rental side. His property management company that we are seeing a whole lot more sellers frustrated putting their house up for lease in the Austin market and still not getting a lot of activity. It is our hardest market right now to lease right now. You can't have a house with any kind of problems. Your house has to be perfect. That's on the sales. That's also on the rental side. You can't cut corners. There's too many homes available. Not enough renters, not enough buyers. It's very important to do the upfront stuff to your property if you want to put a body in there. It's really rough.
Yeah. Austin, and to your point on rentals, Robert, Austin's become the most affordable rental city in the country. That's hard to believe.
Because nobody's there. That's because nobody's looking at the rate. You got to realize they built 25,000 apartments after COVID. So you have that, coupled with there was a lot of work from home that really pushed Austin up. The tech industry, especially I wouldn't say lower end tech, but I'd just say like newer tech, not the big Max 7 tech. Those companies really have laid off a lot, especially with the AI booms and stuff going on. That lower entry level stuff is what really boomed Austin. And so they're really getting hit on the chin in two directions. And then I believe they just passed some kind of law or something with the property taxes are supposed to go up there too. So they're really getting killed there.
Not good. And side note, Texas is correcting all around on residential.
It really is.
Fort Worth dropped 4%. San Antonio, number one place in the country for canceled home sales. Dallas and Houston had the highest shares of discounted sales. Yeah,
Who had the highest number of discounted stuff? Or what was the first one?
The first one was Dallas and Houston. Highest shares of discount. Sellers put their house on the market and then they discount the sale. So Dallas and Houston had the highest share of price drops basically by sellers.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, prices, if you think you're going to get a deal in these places, prices are still up from pandemic levels. It's not like things are approaching pandemic sales with levels, except with the exception of Austin. I think Austin is now pretty close to pre-pandemic pricing on rents. I'm not sure if the sales have come down.
Sales haven't gone that far down. Rent definitely has. But what you're seeing is when you saw a lot of corporations come in and buy properties in 2019, 2020, 2021, that's setting the floor right now. That's where the prices are dropping to about, and that's where they don't really go below that. So you can thank BlackRock for really putting that floor in there for everybody.
Yeah. That's the market update. Not good news if you're a landlord or you're trying to sell your property. Great news if you're a buyer. So, things are looking up.
Yes.
If you've got the money and you're tolerating these interest rates right now and you're a buyer or you're a renter in Austin, good news for you. All right. So let's move on to just our real estate questions today. First question we're going to tackle is, how do unscrupulous landlords create problems for us as a management company? There's all kinds of ways we can answer that, but I think what we're talking most about here are landlords that have repair issues. They're not making repairs, or worse, they're covering things up. The one that comes to mind is mold. So if you've got a mold issue and the landlord knows it and it hasn't been fixed and it hasn't been remediated, and the landlord just wants to paint over or use cosmetic things to cover it up, that's a problem. You don't really want to be a real estate agent, realtor, management company, and in that situation, because you're opening yourself up to liability if you go to lease that property and you're silent, right? You don't get to stay silent knowing that there's problems with the property just because you're the agent of the landlord. So that's a bad thing.
Yeah, if we're an agent and we know about a situation, we have to disclose it.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of landlords out there that do try to put lipstick on a pig, so to speak. And then they'll throw it to a management company to be the punching bag for the tenant that we eventually put in there. And it's just not fair. As a management company, we don't have time to deal with problems of that magnitude when the landlord is not going to do their part. It's a two-way street. The landlord has to do their part. Management can do their part to work together to make everything flow.
Yeah.
The landlord's not doing their part. All it's doing is making our job near impossible. Tenants get mad, give us the bad review. We're the one that they're talking to every day. It's just not right.
Yeah, and it's a problem for the tenant too. And
it's not fair.
It doesn't mean as a landlord that you have to fix every little thing, but you can't have things that are really dangerous or big problem issues and say, hey, let's hide this. The realtor cannot be complicit in that kind of activity. That's going to be a licensing violation. It's going to open yourself up to civil lawsuit. So not a good thing. And we do have that happen sometimes, and we have to terminate landlords. All right. Question number 2. We're talking about super pushy realtors bluffing over or overestimating how hot a property is or a market. I'm curious, Robert, your opinion on this.
I don't think I've ever shown a house and asked an agent if they were working an offer and they said, oh, I've got 2 on the way or 3 on the way, or I'm working one right now and better bring your best. And the thing is, you never know if they're bluffing or not. And so you really should just put your best foot forward whenever you're representing your buyer, I should say. But yes, there is a lot of fluff. And I hear it all the time. But at the same time, I've been a listing agent where I've had a house on the market for 30, 40 days. And all of a sudden, I just get 2 offers at the same time. And I know they think I'm bluffing, but I'm not. But the thing is, you just don't know. Things happen like that weirdly. It's very common how something like that can happen, where you just is dead silent for a few weeks, and all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 people that are ready to buy the house. Yeah. But I would say it is a tactic that is used quite often by realtors.
In this situation, I was looking at the house. It was in between a tear down and maybe a big renovation project. And I was a serious buyer, but I don't have to buy something. So I went to look at the house. I liked it. I was considering making an offer, and the realtor called me up. He said, hey, we've got multiple offers coming in and we're going to need to close by year end. And I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like bidding on a house right now.
Well, how long had that house been on the market?
It had just come on the market, and maybe she did have it, but then that was 9 days ago and it's still on the market. If it was that high, you think it would be. So now,
yeah,
I mean,
9 days is a long time if you have that hot of a
Right.
situation. And we're knocking on the time where you can't close at the end of the year in about a week or two if you don't get it done.
Yeah. So she ran off. In that case, she ran off a legitimate buyer just through a bluff, obviously. Now they can construe anything. And maybe they did have an offer from two builders for lot value. And it was like, all right. But she didn't have the offers that her seller wanted. I think it can be counterproductive. I'm not sure why they just sometimes when the realtors just say, hey, we've had some offers, the seller's not completely happy with either of them. We'd love to see another offer. And I think that would have been a greater service to her seller.
Yeah, I don't really understand why an agent would say something with a closed-ended remark to not. You obviously had some interest. They didn't even call you back
Yeah, right.
3 or 4 days later to see if you're interested. That's not. I don't know. That seems bad to
What
me. Like you obviously had some interest, even if you were bluffing. Why not call that person back in a couple of days? Hey, these didn't work out. You still have an interest in this property? Like completely wrong.
This house I was looking at, it was very close to my neighborhood where I live, and it's near the tennis club where I am. And a couple of my buddies have wives that are realtors, and I walked in and I like knew everybody in the open house. They were like my tennis buddies. And I'm like, hold on,
Oh,
they're not looking to buy houses. Like so and so guy, Joe is 60 years old and his kids are gone. They're not looking to buy this house or renovate it. And I got the feeling, then I realized that his wife's a realtor in the same place in this at the same shop at the same real estate company. And then it was like a gimmicky thing to have make it look like the open house was busier than it was. Do you think that's okay? Do you think that's, that's a good tactic? I don't think it's unethical.
and it actually works. It's actually a pretty good tactic. It shows that there's people that are interested. And if you are that one person that was coming in to look at that house and you see a number of people there, it gives you merit to why you're looking at this house. Oh, the other people like this house. So I think that's a pretty good sales tactic. If you have the people available to come to your open house and walk around as if they are actually going to look at it, it's
Well, yeah, I guess it's a good tactic. I don't know that it's completely on the up and up. They're going to say, my buddies really were considering the house. The guys that were there, they were hanging out, chit chatting and all that.
you got to realize that we're a small brokerage, but there's a lot of these bigger brokerages and they have big offices and they'll schedule their open houses staggered. So they all go and visit each other's open house to help each
That's
other out.
going on. And
And
they're
so,
pretending like they're interested. What do you think about,
yeah,
hey, come park your cars in front of the house and then come and leave it there? Do you see them do that at all?
never seen that because there's nobody in the house. So who's like,
That's fair. That's a good one. You got to hang out. I'm not sure I love it, but I might have offered on it. They ran me off. Robert, this one's not on the outline, but this has been big news, and I'm just gonna throw it out to you randomly
sure.
because there's one real estate company out there. I'm not going to mention their name because I think it's just an allegation at this point. But this one real estate company, which is one of the largest real estate companies in the country, they have a policy of not putting it on the MLS. If they get all their listings don't go to MLS first. They have to be offered to the in-house, their other agents, like their internal listing service. What do
Yeah.
you think about that? Do you think that's a service to the seller, or do you think the seller gets more money that way? Or do you think the seller gets less money?
I think the least amount of people you put the eyeballs on the
Uh,
properties, it's not good. It definitely creates an exclusivity.
mm,
It makes it feel like if you list your home with this agent, you're going to be a part of an exclusive pool of homes that are only going to be seen to a certain within their company. I thought there was something that was going on with NAR that was not allowing them to do that
They
anymore.
call
It's
it
called pocket. They call it
pocket
pocket
listing.
listings, and I thought I thought pocket listings got outlawed
I
now.
haven't heard about that from an NAR perspective. That would be a rule-based thing, not a legal.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know it was talked about at least. And I know a lot of brokers just stopped having to do it because of some kind of lawsuit or something. I don't know the ins and outs directly, but it was very prevalent there for a while when the market was very hot. And you didn't want to have thousands of people running through your house, 30 plus offers from random people. You had enough buyers in the market that you had them within your brokerage that you could just have that exclusivity. We don't have that kind of market anymore. If you do not have your house marketed to the mass people on the internet for everyone to see, you're doing yourself a
Mhm.
disservice in this market. This market is much different than it was 2 years ago. I saw a lot of pocket listings in 2020, actually 2018 to about 2022, and it really stopped. It dissipated a lot more.
Yeah. This issue really came to a head. What Zillow did to this one company that I'm not mentioning their name, Zillow said it was targeted at this one company, but I guess their policy applies to all the companies. If you don't put it on the MLS feed first, then if you put it on later, then we won't post it on Zillow. That was Zillow's policy on it, to fight back, because Zillow wanted all the access. They wanted their web traffic to have access to all the listings and fight the pocket listings. I think it does a disservice to the seller. We talked a little bit about our previous show. I do think it does a disservice to the seller, but all right. Next question. This is a property management one. Can property management companies wait for an inspector or the utility company for long periods at a property? This is like we're managing a property and the landlord says, hey, send somebody out. The utility is going to be there between the hours of 1 and 5 p.m. Well,
yeah, it's just not doable for anybody to really do that. Who's got 5 hours to sit in a spot? Yeah. I think a lot of utility companies have stopped doing that. They've changed it. They're like, look, we'll turn on the gas line or the water line. But if we see anything coming through, the water's turning, we're going to turn it right back off. So you're going to have somebody else meet us out there. Yeah. So they have gotten a lot more lax with it. Because of that, it's just really hard to have, we'll be there between 8 and 5. Okay. Who has all day to sit around and wait in a vacant house for water to be turned on? So I think it has gotten a lot better. It used to be a big problem. Yeah. I say about 5 or 6 years ago for us.
Sure. Management companies just can't do that. You're paying a management company some amount, 6%, 8%, or our prices right now, $150 a month. You just can't sit someone at the property for that long a time. If that does happen, we'll try to work it out with the landlord where we can maybe charge the landlord an additional fee or something, but it's a really hard ask if there are companies out there that still need those big windows. All right, next question. What is a good repair threshold and how does that work? Repair threshold, the owner sets a threshold. Hey, if it's under, ours is $350. Anything under $350, you go and fix it without approval. You don't have to notify me. It's really good for efficiency. If you've got vendors that can fix small stuff for $350 or under, really good for that purpose. And that way you don't have to ask the owner, and then the vendor doesn't have to come back out, charge a trip charge.
That's a major sticking point, because it takes sometimes 2 or 3 days to get a vendor out to a property. They go in there, look, they give you the bid. Now you're waiting on the landlord to answer. They don't answer. They got to take off and leave. Now you got an angry tenant. You go 5 or 6 days on a small repair. Yeah. Landlords don't understand that, like, your tenant being happy is definitely something that you want to have when it comes to something like this. And having that repair threshold, we used to have it at 200. It was too low. Thanks to inflation, everything's just gotten so high. We moved up to 350. I don't feel like we have that much issues with that anymore. I think that's a huge positive for the management company to have those repair thresholds in there.
Yeah, we're a big fan of them. Some owners, don't want to approve everything. They want to they do want to approve everything, and they don't want to have a repair threshold. The issues Robert just mentioned is what's going to happen, where the vendor goes out there. Yeah. Now the owner's got to pay a trip charge, and then you send the guy back out, and it's more expensive for the owner. The tenant's unhappy, not a good situation. But all right, next question. I think this is our last question. What should I do if my tenant sneaks a pet in the property?
Wow, this is a very common one. This one comes up a lot. And what a lot of people do is they have ESAS, service animals, to try to get around pet deposits a lot of times. But
the TAR lease, there's an animal provisions, paragraph 9. Your couple options, you can just hold tenant in breach of the lease, default, evict the tenant. There would be pet violation charges in there. We used to put $100 initially, $10 a day. That's probably not enough anymore. You can pay to have somebody come out and remove the animal and deliver it to local authorities.
That's never happened. Usually, I would say what I typically put when I write a lease agreement is if there's an unauthorized animal in the house, it's $500 charge and about $10 or $50 a day, depending on what I write. Yeah. And how do we find out? Your neighbors will tell you. A lot of times these landlords used to live in these homes and they know the neighbors. Neighbors are like, hey, there's a dog over here. oh, the dog's not supposed to be there. And that's how we find out. And if you confront a tenant, 9 times out of 10, they're going to fall on the sword and they're going to pay a pet deposit at that time. As a landlord, you got to figure out like the opportunity costs there. All right, maybe I'll just go ahead and take this pet deposit and we'll put the pet on the lease and forego the violation if they've been good tenants.
Yeah.
If you've had problems with the tenants, then you want to enforce those fines and then not let that dog stay in the property. You have to take it case by case.
Yeah, usually it's the case of a dog or a cat or something. Though you mentioned we've never had to have anybody come out and remove an animal. I think that's for if someone has a tiger or a monkey in the property. There was a guy, I think in Southwest Houston that had a tiger, and at that point, you probably do need to call animal control.
That'd be correct. That'd be one cages right there.
All right, that brings our show to a close. I've been your host, Phil Silverman. Robert Vernon has been my co-host. Like us, follow us, review us wherever you get your podcasts. And as a reminder, nothing in this show is to be considered legal advice or investment advice. And this has all been for entertainment purposes only. If you have a question about real estate or something else you'd like us to cover, email us at info@silvermanrealty.com. Tell us you want it publicly answered in the podcast. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.